nazidi makinika zaidi. I'm holding on a little bit longer. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I see a better day. Hey. Visions of love from up above. The sun is not too far away. Now I shut up, now not far. I know I will be okay. Reach for the stars with everything in my heart. I know, I know, I know, I know. 'Cause I'm certain brighter days are yet to come. Ain't no question that tomorrow there'll be good time. Oh, 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 I believe with every beat of my heart. Yeah. There's gonna be days like these. We need to be stronger. Misuko na mahangaiko. Ni hali ya dunia, Mungu yupo. And on days like this, we need to rise up. Wakijaribu kutuzika, tutagerminate. Our lives will never be the same.
I see people under the tamborino dancing. I guess there is a celebration. Mama wa loco loco, lego. Baba Sheria, I'm the only one at home. All I want to do now is dance the wombo lumbo. So I lock up and keep Kokorola Begondo. Where do they happen? Ooh, yeah. Come see my picking at the Arubo de Dan Bolombo. Bombolombo. 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 Lagaoro. Bombolombo.
Hello, everyone. Testing. Making sure everyone can hear me. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you are connecting from. I'm very pleased to welcome you to our session, Reimagining Evaluation Experiences of Youth-Led Organizations. Our session today is part of Youth in Evaluation Week, which is focusing on actions to advance meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation. Whether you have worked with or in a youth-led organization, have extensively applied different evaluation approaches to your work, or are looking to connect and exchange ideas on how to be more inclusive in evaluation approaches, we are very happy to have you here today. My name is Weris, and I work on impact measurement as the Senior Learning Officer for Digital Opportunity Trust, also known as DOT. DOT is a Canadian-based nonprofit organization focused on leveraging the potential of youth-led innovation and technology to drive local community transformation. DOT programs equip young people with necessary tools, knowledge, and networks to develop sustainable initiatives that address community needs. DOT operates on the principle that integrating digital technology accelerates social innovation. And through its programs, DOT creates a global environment where digital tools empower communities thrive in a digital age. Today, I'll be moderating today's session along with representatives from 3 of our partner organizations of DOTS projects currently being implemented in Tanzania and Malawi. I am joined on the panel by Lydia Ibrahim from Hakizetu, Snowden Bulla from mHub, and Genila Hiel from Sheria Kiganjani, each committed to advocating for and as well as enhancing real and meaningful engagement of youth in evaluation. And today we'll be discussing evaluation in a more holistic sense and what it takes for young people to lead their own evaluations and shift in a larger space of evaluation. Before beginning, I'd like to highlight a few housekeeping points. So please note that the event is being recorded so that we can share it with a broader audience. And I encourage you to share your thoughts and questions with us and with each other throughout the event in the chat box. Take some time right now to say hello in your local language and let us know where you're connecting from. We'll be monitoring the chat. So please engage with us using the chat. And we'll also be using a Mentimeter. So I believe that a link is going to be shared with you in the chat along with the code. We want to ask what being inclusive in evaluation means to you. So also take some time to respond to that. And then we'll go over that towards the end of our session. Without further ado, I'll kick us off by tossing over the first discussion question to Lydia. Lydia, thank you so much for joining us today from Tanzania. I want to ask you, what are the key elements needed to build sustainable, youth-friendly evaluation capacity within youth-led organizations?
Yeah, thank you so very much, Weris. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to each one of us from wherever we are coming from. My name's Lydia James Ibrahim, and I'm working with an organization called Hakizetu, which basically means our rights. Hakizetu is the youth lead, but also youth saving organization, which is basically based in Tanzania, Mwanza. And the main focus of our organization is to prevent gender-based violence, but also to raise awareness on sexual, reproductive, and health rights. And I'm working with Hakizetu as a monitoring and evaluating manager. So I'll go straight to answer Wallace's question, like as how she asked it. And speaking of the elements for building a sustainable youth-led friendly evaluations, there are so many elements, but today I will have to talk about only 4 of them. And the first one is allocation of enough resources to support the all evaluation activities. So when I speak about resources, I mean like we should invest more in technology which are user friendly or use friendly, which can help use during the evaluation activity or evaluation process. But also I can also mention allocation of fund. As youth lead organization, we have to monitor allocating the fund to the monitoring and evaluations activities, because most of the youth lead organization can just budget their fund on implementing activity, but they forget the part of evaluating the project or the activity. But also I'll say that we have to have integration sessions, or I can say like mentoring sessions whereby youth evaluators can be linked with expertise or experienced evaluators, which can help them to learn, but also to develop their experience in terms of evaluating different projects. But you can all agree with me that youth don't like complicated things or bureaucracies. So I think it's also good to develop tools which user-friendly, which can help youth to participate in evaluation process in a very cool, comfortable, and engaging way. And these tools can be like mobile apps, which will help in data collection, but also surveys document which are very friendly, easy to understand, and which can give youth a room to feel like they need to participate or do that. And lastly, I will speak about recognition. Whenever you participate in evaluation process, we as youth lead and youth serving organization, we should recognize what they just did, because I feel like whenever you recognize somebody, you're giving them an opportunity to feel like, okay, I own this, I can do this even much better. So those are the few elements which I think like youth lead organization can focus on, and they can help in establishing a youth friendly evaluation. Thank you, Wallace.
Thank you so much, Lydia. That was extremely insightful, and I really find the part about making evaluation methods comfortable for those who are being evaluated, and the key elements that you highlighted, you know, in strengthening the capacity of the youth-led organizations and providing them with resources and to be able to carry out these inclusive and youth-friendly evaluations. Genila, I'll follow up with you and ask you, based on what Lydia said, to you, how does strengthening this capacity add value to the youth-led organizations and its programs?
Thank you, Weris. I'm from Sheria Kiganjani. It's a legal tech organization, but also we are dealing with so much technology, and we are doing evaluation in tech-based systems and tools. Following up from the Lydia response, Lydia has talked about improving the funds and resources to this organization so as we can strengthen their capacity around evaluation. But how does this capacity is going to strengthen this kind of organization in add value to the organization and its programs evaluation? First, we are going to improve the program effectiveness because we are going to make decisions which are data driven, but also we are going to identify different gaps in the programs, and we can now start working on those gaps. But also we are going to enhance transparency and accountability in the organization. First, to the stakeholders that we are going to work with and that we are always dealing with every day in our operations. But also in a reporting way, we are going to have a good mechanism in reporting. But this kind of capacity, it is going to open up new opportunities. Opportunities can come in terms of funds, but also can come in terms of technical support. For instance, in the recent project that we are working on as Sheria Kiganjani, we are gaining so much support in terms of funds, but also technical support in terms of trainings, to know more about monitoring and evaluation, to learn about different evaluation techniques that we are currently having and utilize in our project, but also we are going to adapt them in our daily programs apart from the project that we are implementing in. And last is our sustainability and scalability. When we are getting capacity around evaluation technique, it allows us to identify gaps to make decisions which are data driven, but this also influences our sustainable programs, sustainable organization, but we are going to scale not only the programs itself, but also the organization can scale up. The first moment they may be dealing in one region, but after evaluation technique, after gaining capacity around this evaluation, we can now scale up the program itself, but also organization to reach more young people, to reach more beneficiaries, whether in one region. Now we can scale to the country, but also different countries, depending on the capacity that we are gaining. Yeah, thank you so much, Weris.
Thank you so much, Genila. That's really interesting, talking about accountability, the good mechanisms in reporting, and of course, sustainability and scalability for organizations. Certainly those resources will provide those opportunities, as well as, you know, engaging in a larger network. Lydia, what strategies can be used to engage youth as co-creators in evaluation processes? allowing you and other youth-led organizations to define your own measures of successes and outcomes.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Wallace. And there are so many strategies which allow youth to be engaged as co-creator, but today I'll just talk or I'll just explain a few of them. And in order to involve youth to be co-creators, we have to involve or we have to initiate collaboration between youth and youth leading organizations so that youth can review their expertise, but also can feel comfortability in the process. So I will just suggest that the first thing should be we should introduce participatory approach, which means that youth should be familiar or should be involved from the start of the project, not only to the end when we are evaluating the impact, but also from the creation of the project during the implementation and all that, so that they can understand whatever process is happening, whatever is going on. It will make youth to be in a very good point of being able to evaluate, but also feel the sense of ownership within the project. But as how I mentioned before, that we should also have friendly use data collection tools, which will help them to be very engaging and feeling like, okay, this is what I am supposed to do. But also we should have to establish workshop and training, listen to like Hakizetu, what we're doing. We normally have training or workshop basically basing on advanced evaluations, whereby we equip youth with knowledges which help them to do evaluation. And during the training, we try to invite expertise who will talk much about the framework, but also the seal of change, the output, the outcome, and the indicators, which will help youth to understand and know, okay, this is not something very hard, but it is something which I can take it. But also we can create a reporting mechanism, which as Hakizetu, we normally facilitate it. Like we make sure that we have a loom whereby each youth has a chance to come and share the view and share the experience and share whatever he or she has been encountered in the field, because that also gives them the courage to move on, but also help them to feel like, okay, I might be going through this challenge, but okay, another person has also go through it. So it's help used to feel the sense of the ownership. And lastly, I'll talk about to create methods which are very good, very involving, and they're just giving you that room to chat, to express themselves, and to express the challenges and all the things they face during the evaluation session. And those can be through social medias, all the digital platforms can help youth to come together in a small cycle. So thank you so very much, Wallace. That is all from my side.
Thanks so much, Lydia, for that. And very good points raised in terms of initiating collaboration and making sure that youth can review their expertise from the very beginning of evaluations, and making sure that they're included from the very beginning, as well as introducing other different participatory approaches that you highlighted. Learning also is a huge part of that, making sure that other youth-led organizations are, able to define their own measures of successes and outcomes outside of the donor requirements and etc. So being able to do that is quite excellent. So thanks, Lydia, for highlighting those. My next question goes to Snow. Snow, how do youth-led organizations define and measure their own successes within their programs and initiatives? And why is it important to you to take participatory approaches in these evaluations?
All right, thank you. In terms of the measuring success for various youth organizations as well as programs. At the onset, it has to do with their participation in the program design, um, because that will facilitate the measurement of success in their programming as well as for their organizations. And secondly, uh, uh, I think Lydia made mention of capacity building for the youth in understanding uh, results chains basically from results frameworks and theories of change, because that provides a basis for their understanding of what to evaluate and how effective evaluations should go about. Secondly, I mean, additionally to capacity development on understanding our results chains, it also has to uh, do with capacity building for specific types of evaluations that they use to undertake regarding the various programs that they are implementing or regarding their organizations, because that's also crucial to uh, the actual generation of results of evaluations. And the other one would be to do with synergies that are established amongst several youth uh, organizations, maybe that are serving as best practices based on previous evaluations that have been conducted, how best they generated the findings, and if they were disseminated and they were approved at various strategic levels, those should be replicated by these other organizations. So we are looking at synergies, uh, building up from all the collaborations and coordinations around the various youth networks. In terms of the actual participatory approach and its essence, it's in terms of the participatory approach ensures that the ownership of the results from evaluations owned by everyone else, rather than either just a youth organization going about the design of the evaluation by itself, as well as the actual data collection, maybe, and the report writing, and then the dissemination of the findings. But bringing uh, various stakeholders on board ensures that the ownership of the results and the findings that have been generated from the evaluations, as well as whatever results are being measured, can be owned by all, therefore making it easier for replication, as well as the facilitation of learning from these evaluations. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Snow, for those. So interesting to hear your perspective on this and how your organizations are using synergies and collaboration efforts, as you put it, to measure your own success and making sure that learning is always a huge part of the evaluations that you run. My next question goes to you, Genila. Genila, what would it take for organizations like yours to shift towards a larger space of evaluation beyond, the monitoring and evaluation, the basic monitoring and evaluation that we all practice? What would it take for you to kind of shift into a larger space? Feel free to kind of outline different approaches, tools, and etc.
Yeah, thank you, Weris, for the question. Starting with what can it take for organization like mine to shift towards a larger space of evaluation beyond monitoring and evaluation. So far, to this kind of youth-led and youth-serving organization, we already have this monitoring and evaluation method or approach that have been there years and years. And every time when you speak about monitoring and evaluation, there is certain mindedness that we have, like they are very hard things to do, and maybe it includes a lot of mathematics and things like that. But it is start with the capacity that we have, like our organization itself. We should start building internal capacity, like resources, whether it is human resource or financial resources, but also to invest more on the trainings, to train young people, to train youth-led organizations and the staff member about evaluation and monitoring and evaluation, and how can it be done and operated in today's world. By saying today's world, like integrating the technology and digitalization aspect of monitoring and evaluation, so as it cannot be the conservative one like what we are used to do every day, but also engaging stakeholders, participatory and collaborative approach, engaging stakeholders, people that we are working with every day, starting with internally, but also externally in terms of donors, beneficiaries of our programs, to make them be part of our everyday programs and everyday activities, but also leveraging technology and digital platforms. For us, Sheria Kiganjani, we are a legal tech platform. We are providing legal services through technology. We have a digital application, call center, all this depending on the technology. And even our evaluations should now depend on the technology part. We should improve our capacity in terms of technology so as we can ensure data utilization that we are gaining every day, and to make use of them, to strategize and to design programs depends on the capacity we have, but also kind of evaluation that we are doing every day. But also we are now working on the project that allow us to develop systems and learning documentation system that can allow to go beyond daily monitoring and evaluation, like integrating technology, making young people at the center, but like bringing the ownership of monitoring and evaluation in daily programs. Thank you, Weris, for the question.
Thank you so much, Genila. That's actually a really good point, and I'm really pleased and happy to hear that you're using the different tools and learning documenting systems, integrating technology into your organizational learning. So that's excellent. And Lydia, a follow-up to you is what resources or changes do you think are necessary to make a transition, and the transition being shifting into a larger space of evaluation?
Yeah, thank you so very much, Wallace. And in order to shift toward a larger space of evaluation beyond traditional monitoring and evaluation, organizations like ours need to focus on different things. And the first one should be mindset transformation. Like we should transform our mind, not just to do evaluation in just in terms of donor requirement, but we should take evaluation as part of learning, like as part of something which help us to learn and to understand better how our projects are learning and how we are supposed to do them in a better way. Because if we keep doing evaluation just because the donor requires us to do, we cannot reach far. And also, I'll talk about partnering. We can't deny the fact of partnering. We need to partner, learn from other different organizations who you think are doing better in terms of evaluating their project, so that we can also get skills and all that. But also, when we partner, we can also include stakeholders, the community, and all that, because they're the people from the source, so that they can give us the good idea, like how should we do it and how should we do it in a very good way. But also, we should allow ourselves to have good evaluation framework, which can be either adapted from another organization or by framing it on our own. And it should not just focus on the outcome and all that, but should focus on the all content of the evaluation and monitoring framework. And I earlier or before mentioned about free feedback mechanism. So we should try to develop mechanism which allow us to get together and learn and get feedback, what we face or what is happening from the field, and also give us a room to accept the change and accept the challenge and improve from there. And lastly, I'll talk about investing on training staff. Most of our organization don't invest on equipping staffs with that evaluation knowledge. So as youth-led organization, we really need to invest on our staff and train them on how to evaluate in a good way. So that also can help us move or transform from the traditional way of evaluating our programs. So thank you so very much, Wallace.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Lydia, for that. Those are really good points that you bring up in terms of using good evaluation frameworks and building the capacity of the staff in these youth-led organizations to be able to train them in evaluating beyond just the basic monitoring and evaluation, where we're collecting data, analyzing it, and then kind of disseminating it. And there is that gap where maybe the feedback loops aren't necessarily incorporated, and we are sitting on data and we have information, but the question of what do we do with this information? Who do we share it with? How do we share it on our platforms? And how do we share it amongst our networks so that we're able to kind of increase our impact measurement? I think those are really some really good points. And I also, to add on to what you said, Lydia, is the component of really bringing in qualitative research into our quantitative research that we're doing. So kind of using storytellings and focus group discussions, key informant interviews, really making sure that we're also very inclusive in the way that we're collecting qualitative information, so that nobody is left behind, but also so that we are being inclusive and so that our data is being contextualized, because the information that we gather, for example, in Tanzania may not necessarily be culturally or socially economically relevant or similar to the data that we would be collecting in Malawi or in other parts of the world. So Lydia, really, really great that you brought up those points about really building the capacity within the organizations themselves to be able to kind of scale up that way. My next question goes to you, Genila. What methods can be employed to enable young people to tell their own stories of change, kind of building on what I said? So telling their own stories of change and impact in a way that's authentic and powerful. Genila, I think you're still on mute, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Weris, for the question. Speaking of what can make young people come together for monitoring and evaluation and sharing about their stories, we should create something which is youth-centered. And by saying youth-centered, right now we cannot avoid tech and digitalization. We cannot avoid the inclusive methods for bringing people together, because we are dealing with young people, but these young people, they are also young people, persons with disability. How inclusive our platforms are, how inclusive our programs are, to make sure that when they come, they can get access to information, they can get access to this evaluation technique that we are using. For instance, right now, for us, Sheria Kiganjani, we are building our digital application to ensure that even persons with disability, with different kind of disability, can get access to our services from digital platforms. So we should invest in this kind of programs to ensure that they're inclusive, they're engaging, participatory, but also collaborative, for young people to feel as a young person during the process of evaluation, but also monitoring. Coming to ways that is authentic and powerful, first, we have to ensure that we create empowerment and agents of change between the young people, because when we are building a young person to spread news about monitoring and evaluation, but also to tell their own stories of change during our programs, we should ensure that they are owning their stories, they are owning the evaluation technique or monitoring technique that we are using. But also we should build capacity so they can know how are they going to tell their stories, which approach is visible, which approach is friendly to them, so they can create stories, they can tell their stories to the world, and the stories can reach the right people that they are targeting to reach. But also, the good part of being a young person is to know how to celebrate and to be recognized. As a young person, I would love to work on something to be recognized, but to also to be celebrated. When I achieve something, please give me something to know that I worked on this thing. Either it is a certificate or you make me win certain learning exchange programs so as to know how this telling the stories, monitoring, evaluation, how other people do it in their way. We can go outside the country to learn how people from Malawi do evaluation, how do they tell their stories depending on their context, but also small grants to improve our capacity, because when you see someone tries his or her best to tell their story using existing approach, you know there is a better way to do that. Let me give you this something so as you can improve your capacity around monitoring evaluation, but also you can improve your capacity in tell your story to be more visible to your fellow young people, but also to people that you are targeting. There is different ways to ensure that we make young people feel recognized, but also to feel celebrated when they are trying their best to tell their stories, but also to tell what are they really doing for communities. And it is part of evaluation and it is part of monitoring. Thank you, Weris.
Thank you so much for that, Genila. That was really powerful as well, in the way that you responded, and highlighting that youth should be at the center for the stories to be authentic and powerful, and allowing them to be able to tell their own stories for themselves. Leveraging technology and really promoting diverse voices, like you said. And when you highlighted, talking about or representing persons with disabilities or other marginalized groups, we really do have to make sure that we are including them in evaluation so that they are part of those stories that they're telling, and we're not telling the stories for them, because as you know, representation matters. So it's really important that you said that. Really happy to get that answer from you. My next question goes to Snow. Snow, how can organizations effectively implement the principles of Youth in Evaluation Manifesto in their evaluation practices?
Yeah, so to effectively implement the principles within the manifesto, I think it's very essential for an enabling environment that starts with the availability of the technical capacity for the youth to implement the principles, the availability of both human and financial resources to ensure that the effective leadership for youth in evaluation is available at an organizational level. Most of the youth organizations struggle with keeping or maintaining capacities because financially they are not stable. Hence, the challenge to retain staff that are acquainted in evaluation. So, in terms of making sure that the principles are adhered to, there has to be those capacities. In terms of the capacity development for youth organizations in both leadership and accountability, be it in knowledge management and communication, as well as the rest of the principles. Then we have to be looking at the uh, basically the desire within the youth organizations to be strategic in their approach, and eventually leading to the actual operationalization of the principles within the youth manifesto. So that would have to do with the development of guidelines, as well as terms of references for conducting evaluations, for bringing on board evaluators within the organization, so for carrying out evaluations so that they are systematic and they can easily be adopted within the wider space, and that the evaluations can be accredited as well, because they are speaking to, or they are in line with established principles for carrying out these evaluations. And also, in terms of the to continue with operationalizing the principles, policies have to be existent within the youth organizations or youth-led programs that detail the criteria for evaluation in line with the established principles. Also bearing in mind that all diversions to suit the youth context in evaluations are clearly marked out, and they are justified, so that uh, these things, as youth-led organizations are carrying out evaluations, they do not deviate from the existing principles. But primarily, there has to be support from different organizations, or there has to be support in terms of technical assistance for youth-led organizations to increase their capacity in uh, not only carrying out evaluations, but also ensuring that they are effectively implementing the principles within the manifesto, because some of the principles are overly comprehensive for a youth-led organization. So technical assistance will be required to make sure that they are capacitated in the various principles within the manifesto, and as well as financial support for these youth-led organizations. Because if we look at the development of the policies and the identification of capacities, uh, all those elements, they require support, financial support, as well as technical support. So that's what I would say. And on the follow-up, uh, basically on the challenges and the benefits of adopting the principles. The principles map out an effective way of carrying out evaluations. Um, if adhered to, youth organizations will be strengthened in terms of their capacity, and as well as in terms of being hubs for other youth organizations to learn on effective ways of evaluation, to structure themselves in terms of leadership and accountability, knowledge management and communication, as well as in terms of practice, which speaks into the operationalization of uh, these principles. Those are some of the benefits, and it would also help to align the youth-led organizations to different other structures nationwide, not only in their countries, because there are a number of organizations also that adhere to the same principles within the manifesto. But the basic challenges are the ones that I already mentioned, that it requires a lot of resources to operationalize the principles within the manifesto. And it also requires a lot of capacity building for the youth-led organizations, or for the youth organizations to actually implement the principles of youth evaluation within the manifesto, as well as finally maybe the willingness and the desire amongst the youth-led organizations, whereby once introduced to certain concepts, uh, some of the organizations would be like, that seems to be beyond our reach, or maybe that should be at a certain level, not at our level. So in the long run, they find themselves not acquainted with these skills that are stipulated within the principles in the manifesto. So there has to be that willingness and the desire to grow the evaluation base within the youth organizations. Over, thank you.
Snow, thank you so much for that. You've highlighted some very, very great points, and I think some universal challenges that we all face, both smaller organizations and larger organizations. I think have these common challenges as well. I really like how you brought up the point of the desire and willingness, because you can only do so much as the resources that you're provided. You may want to be able to do so many different things, but you're limited and restricted because you may not have, the funding that you need for you to execute plans or to implement the projects or to carry out the different activities. So I think those are some really good points that you brought up. I also think that as young people, we have a fire that's lit in us, and it's only burning as long as the oil is being put, or the fuel is being put for the fire to be built in. So I really like how you really eloquently put that and I highlighted and outlined those challenges and barriers, and refer to the manifesto, the principles in the manifesto. So that's it for our questions to the panelists. I'll go over to the chat now. I think our chat is quite active with some questions, so I'll take some questions from participants at this point. And if you don't mind, I'll direct them to the panelists. Snow, what gaps, I have a question here in the chat. What gaps in knowledge and expertise do youth-led organizations encounter when conducting evaluations? And there's a second part to the question, but I'll let you respond to the first one first.
So in terms of the gaps, the basic gaps are to do with the level of evaluations and the understanding, because when youth-led organizations are given a project to implement, and basically by design, there is the understanding that this project will need to be evaluated. But from experience, I've encountered a number of challenges, including not being able to understand the type of evaluations that are to be undertaken at which level of the project, and specifically also to do with the actual design of evaluations, and which questions to ask in which type of evaluation, and at which phase, and which level of results to disseminate at which interval of the project. So capacities in terms of understanding the type of evaluations to be conducted at given intervals, that's the number one challenge. And the second one is the understanding that the essence of evaluations is to also facilitate learning for various stakeholders. So most of the evaluations are done internally, and in terms of uh, trying to facilitate learning, it doesn't happen because the results are just disseminated within the space that the youth-led organizations are working in. Hence, the learning from the overall evaluation doesn't trickle down either at national level or district levels, so that programming can be maybe so that the learning from this can inform the adaptation of programs, as well as various initiatives at either district or national level. So you find that consequently, the same challenges that exist, or the same gaps that have been identified over time, are still being disseminated in meetings, yet there were recommendations that were made from evaluations that were done at a youth-led organization level. And also maybe the challenge to do with financing, whereby once we don't have internal capacities to carry out effective evaluations, we have to bring on board uh, either a consultant or a few to carry out an evaluation. So as long as the youth-led organizations don't have uh, the resources, eventually it will also affect the quality of the evaluation in terms of the findings that are generated from the evaluation, as well as all the other ongoing processes. So I think these are some of the basic challenges that I would say are encountered by youth-led organizations in carrying out evaluations. Over.
Thanks so much for that, Snow. I have another question here in the chat. Uh, Lydia, I'll send this one over to you. What are the benefits of involving diverse stakeholders as key participants in the evaluation process?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Wallace?
Yes. What are the benefits of involving diverse stakeholders as key participants in the evaluation process?
Oh, thank you so very much, Wallace. So there's so many benefits of involving stakeholders, but what I know, when you involve stakeholder, you can understand from the root cause, you can understand, or whatever you build your outcome, you can build your outcome from reality rather than imagination. Most of youth lead organization just build their outcome in terms of just thinking like, okay, we are going to implement this project and this is what we want to see. But you don't know from the ground and from the root. So if you involve stakeholders or if you involve other beneficiaries, will help you to determine, is this really what I am seeing? Is this really true? What I have put it as an outcome? Can it be able to be achieved, or can it be able to be uh, can it be able to be taken in place rather than just sitting you as a team and try to imagine or to flame the outcome. So I would advise the youth lead organization to think about that in involving the stakeholders, because they're the best people to give us feedback from the community, but they're the best people to tell us what the community wants and how the community feel about. So I'll take that as advantage of engaging them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Genila, I have another question here in the chat that I'll throw your way. When it comes to data for research and evaluation, how do we ensure data safety and integrity? First, data safety for our participants, and secondly, how can the data be trusted for decision making?
Thank you, Weris, for the question. That was my very interesting question in the chat box. First, because when we come to the data safety and integrity, it starts with the internal capacity of our organization. And speaking of the internal capacity, start with the capacity of human resource, but also like capacity in terms of operations, technology, but also in terms of funds. So data safety start with the policies and procedure that we developed within the organization. But sometimes you can find youth-led organization or youth-serving organization just have a constitution and they are ready to go to implement different programs in the community. But we normally don't have these kind of policies in our organization to facilitate different implementation of the programs. So it starts with the policies, it starts with the procedure that we are developing, but also it starts with the capacity of human resource within the organization. But the main aspect of it is to make our policies and procedure practical. Sometimes you can have a document and saying that this is our data protection policy, but you, by any chance, you are not implementing that policy and you are not following the procedures. But another thing is to strengthening our monitoring and evaluation system. Back in the days, we had papers and we are collecting maybe names, age, gender of our beneficiaries in the paper, and we are keeping it in our tables, like we have our data and we are doing monitoring and evaluation. But right now, we can now start on how to strengthen this capacity in terms of data collection, data analysis, and how they are going to inform the decision making within the organization, but within the community also. So let's start with with building the capacity in terms of developing these policies, developing the procedures, but also to make our policies and procedure into practical, and strengthening our capacity in terms of evaluation monitoring technique within the organization. Thank you, Weris.
Thank you so much, Genila, for responding to that question. I'll take some time to go over the Mentimeter responses now. The question that we asked at the beginning of the session was, what does being inclusive in evaluation mean to you? And I think a few people had responded to this in on Mentimeter. So we have responses saying, okay, so the question was, what does being inclusive in evaluation mean to you? Someone said, our tools allow us to reflect the realities of most people, that we're able to deliver with needed tools. I see a lot of talk about tools here. Being inclusive in evaluation means participating or having interest in evaluation and providing contribution to the monitoring and evaluation learning. Definitely. Tasks undertaken in different conditions and distributed timings, and be well engaged. Definitely. There are digital and tech-based for sure. Definitely being inclusive. We know that by using technology and leveraging technology, we're able to expand our reach and access those people that may live in very rural locations, or those persons with disabilities that may not be able to travel for in-person evaluations. Yeah, definitely no limitations to persons with disabilities. All right, that was great. Thank you so much. So I'd like to first thank Genila, Snow, and Lydia very much for representing our partner organizations. Thank you for being our speakers today and really sharing your strong perspectives and insights with us. Thanks very much to everyone who participated in this session for actively listening and for actively participating in the chat. I'd like to reinforce the call to action and invite you all to sign the manifesto that we'll share in the chat here. By signing this manifesto, you're committing to being a champion for youth in evaluation and committing to the principles of youth in evaluation. Please be sure to check out our website, and you can find us on social media at Digital Opportunity Trust or Digital Op Trust. We thank our colleagues at Youth in Evaluation Week for their incredible support in our session and the work that they're doing to uplift youth inclusion in evaluation. Whatever we do, wherever we go next, I encourage you all to think about youth leadership and how youth can guide and lead evaluation and impact measurement for us. Thank you so much again, everyone, and have a great day. Enjoy your evenings and afternoons wherever you are.